Feels weird doing reviews for an artist this many times in a row for videos, but when it's a consistent discography like this, it's as smooth as butter. Welcome to A Run Does Music, where today we're checking out the third studio album from 3 Days Grace called Life Starts Now. This is the third and final commission from my friend Kevin, where he had me review the first 3 albums from 3 Days Grace. And because I like overlogging myself with the work, I decided that this was going to be my first full discography dive of 2022, where I'm going to take a look at every single 3 Days Grace album. I'm going to review all the ones that have been out, then I'm going to eventually review Explosions when it comes out in May, and then once that's all said and done, I'm going to rank every single song worst to best. But right now, let's focus on the third and final installment of this commission series. Let's talk a little bit about Life Starts Now. This album sees another turning point of a certain kind when it comes to the band and their overall sound from album to album. While each 3 Days Grace album, arguably even to this day, deals in equal parts despair and hope, it feels like with this album there's a lot more of a positive vibe sort of overlapping over the despair. Although this is still a band that thrives within desperate and depressing storytelling. And nowhere is this as evident as with 2 specific songs, those being Bitter Taste and World So Cold. Both of these come rather early on, with the latter track having a very heavy lyrical weight that makes up for the quick in and out verses of this song employs. Or I guess you could say the quick in and out verses that every 3 Days Grace song employs, because come on, 3 Days Grace. The song's subject is another relatable and easy to recognize situation, being a piece about the aftermath of relationships end, and the desolate sadness and cold heartbreak that can absolutely consume you after the fact. In terms of discography continuity, this is a really nice piece because we've seen the effects that drugs and self-isolation and then so many other different elements can take in opposed to an active relationship. Now seeing the aftermath of relationship and possibly the aftermath of one that was plagued with such issues like that is really interesting to see almost the culmination and closing of a story that might have been told over so many different songs. There was a lot of hopeful yearning that we could see in some songs, like, and an overall feeling of, man, it's good to be with somebody, it's good to feel wanted, and it's good to feel happy and complete. And now here we are, it's sad time again. Having a relationship end sucks at the end of the day, no matter what the circumstances are 9 times out of 10. And here it's one of those all too common moments where the protagonist of the song is left a shell, just something that's there but not there. He's there in presence but not there in emotion or feeling. In terms of instrumentation, I really liked the light touch of what was either synth, piano, or just straight up keyboard that comes in towards the end. And there's a more focused atmosphere along with this and just the overall structure of the song that I think the song really benefits from, as opposed to being just another sad 3 Days Grace track. There's more elements to it, making it sound like a fuller song and one that has a lot more going on than just the typical things. Switching emotions but still focusing on aftermath and endings, the intro track on the album, Bitter Taste, sees Adam Gontier singing about someone he feels more than happy to be away from. He's seeking to see their memories and existence erased from his life, his mind, and his heart, just everything gone. On the flip side, you can also possibly see some of these lyrics as maybe being pointed towards himself. Like, here's a line that I'm going to read off for an example right here. Your name, your face is all you have left now, betrayed, disgraced, so on and so forth. Adam, both within his song stories and within his personal life, has possibly figuratively and possibly literally betrayed himself and others, and of course been on the receiving end of a lot of situations that he may have brought onto himself or may have been just results of the things that he was doing, such as his struggles with Oxycontin addiction, his struggles with his love life in general, struggles upon struggles. So maybe this is a song towards himself, but I do think it's more possible that this is just another song looking at somebody saying, hey, fuck you, bye, have a good day. Not really, bitch. But the song fits in with the album's overall feeling of coming back to a sense of reality and just dealing with life and all of its shitty situations, all of its shitty qualities. It's not all fuck this, fuck that, fuck it all though. In a song that sees the same short verses, but it's packed with a lot more storytelling, we have the song Lost in You. This one serves as a straight up feel-good song within the band's discography, which usually chooses to focus on drawing out vulnerable parts, and here we do see some vulnerability, but it's not Adam Gontier sitting there on the mic saying, holy fuck, I'm sad. This is Adam Gontier sitting there and it's like, hey, life doesn't suck, there's a rainbow over there. It's a flip around from the band just kind of singing about bad things, bad times, and just the admissions of getting lost within somebody, essentially falling for them. It's heartwarming, it's sweet, it's something that you don't expect from a band coming off of an album like 1X. And it's a nice detraction from the overly serious tones that seem to just be constantly popping up all over 3 Days Grace's timeline, for better and for worse. Usually better, though. I think one of the best lines on the album comes in the bridge of the song, and it goes as follows. I'm putting 2 song quotes in the review because fuck you. Now every day I find myself saying, I want to get lost in you. I'm nothing without you. I love that. Give it no time at all, however, and the Canadian crew is back up to their old defiance and riot-ready attitudes, with a song like The Good Life. This type of song feels like it fit just as well on the first album alongside songs like Burn and Born Like This. It feels like the type of song you listen to in the car on the way to quit your job. You're going into the gym, you're getting the rack set up, you're putting the earbuds in, and you're like, all right, we're getting ready. I'm fucking ready to improve my life, which, that kind of thing, it borders on cringy, like, oh yeah, man, I'm gonna quit my job, here's some tunes, da-da-da. But you know what, fuck it. Cringe is dead, it's 2022. This is the type of thing where you can just describe a situation, and cringe is dead about it. While it may sound pretty similar to douchey gym bro anthems like Headstrong by Trapped, this is that, but in a very more positive light, and this is also not coming from a horrible person. This fits the tone of some guy venting frustrations, wanting something better for himself, but not quite in the realm of, I deserve it because fuck you. This is Adam Gontier saying, hey, I deserve this because I've been through shit. I want something good to happen to me. I deserve a little something, a little gabagool. The underlying sense of purpose here is profound, palpable, and enjoyable to the least. I've said a lot of positive things about this album so far, but there are some detriments and there are some things that drag the album down, very unfortunately. I gotta say, I realized this back when I listened to this album for the first time back in middle school, and now I'm realizing it again as I'm listening to it in a critical way. This album came with a lot of those first moments where I sat there and thought to myself, okay, this is just another version of this. This is just another kind of okay song, but there's not as many moments such as in 1X or even the band's debut album where I can sit there and say, oh yeah, all these things were so individual that I didn't have to think about that. Don't get me wrong, there's some genuine unique moments like what I've talked about so far, like with No More, which has a more out of left field attack at song structure. Outside of the sound, the lyrics feel like they're being sung about nothing, really. The second half of this album has a couple songs that just completely halt the forward momentum that the album has had thus far. The reason being that they just feel like filler in the worst possible way. Someone Who Cares feels like the second part of something we've heard from the band before, just another, why the fuck does the world hate me? This is bullshit. And yeah, you could argue that a lot of 3 Days Grace songs up until this point, even far after, that's the general vibe, but at least they've been done in an enjoyable way, in a catchy way. This isn't that same vibe. It's not the same catchiness where you can sit there and say, alright, you little scamp, that's alright. And then you have probably my least favorite song, and a song that there's plenty to criticize about. You have Bully, which for the first time in 3 Days Grace's catalog, I can firmly call a song cringy and not be able to defend it. I can defend Pain, I can defend Animal I've Become, but I can't defend this. The song kicks in with a decidedly more heavy tuning and hard rock leaning as opposed to a majority of this album. And when I first heard that, I remember way back in middle school, I was like, ooh, this is gonna be one of the songs I remember. And I remembered it, but not for positive reasons. Even back then, I thought the song was just kind of meh. While 3 Days Grace has been no stranger to anger and elements of the same variety, this feels like the quiet kid in class cursing for the first time and cracking his voice, just saying, man, fuck you! Kind of ironic, considering the song's story is about a bully or a set of bullies who might have a redeeming story behind them and speak they're the way they are because of the world around them and the world that they live in. It's supposed to be the sort of song where it's like, hey, think about who you're talking shit about. On both ends of the coin, both sides of the coin, heads and tails. But you hear a song with a line like, she can't remember when she loses her temper, and the intended impact behind them it falls flat. It comes across as an attempt to be hard or to be serious, and it's falling flat. It's falling flat like a pancake. Finally, to wrap up this part of the review, here's another song I'm just going to shit on. Essentially, I apologize. The song that is the epitome of nothing going on without you. This song loses the album's sensibility for providing instrumental work from their members Brad Walsh, Neil Sanderson, and Barry Stock, and strips itself back to a song that feels like something off of the band's debut album. And this is more of a negative way than as opposed to the song earlier, The Good Life, which felt like it felt right alongside Riot or even Burn or Born Like This. When I talked about the track earlier, The Good Life, I didn't shit can it with a comparison to the debut album, because the debut album had some really solid moments. I talked about songs like the two that I kept naming over and over in this review, and I said very positive things about it. But this feels like some of the more forgettable songs off that album. This feels like a song that could have just been shoved in randomly in the middle of the track order on the first album, and then recycled on this album, and I wouldn't have felt a difference, because this feels like a recycled song from that era. A song that's basic, straightforward, and not having a whole lot of difference and individuality on it would have been kind of okay in a debut album. But when you're 3 albums in, this is where I can officially look at a song like that and say, hey, you're fucking dog shit, go away, nobody wants you. The only interesting thing on it is just a very basic guitar solo, but we've had plenty of good guitar solos from both Adam on guitar and then Neil on guitar, or we just don't need more of this going on at this point. This is a hard album to critique in the sense that it feels like we got equal parts improvement and detriments. While we see a lot more varied work, we're especially seeing some stuff in the Guitar Workshop. There's a lot of genuine stinkers that would go to rank very low in this eventual worst to best song ranking that I'm going to be doing later on in the year. There's just too many moments where, like I said, with Without You, Bully, it just feels like we're starting to recycle the same ideas or go to ideas that just have no substance and no flavor and they feel not worth making a song about. And I want to talk again about the momentum. You got a song early on in Break, which is a crowd stirrer. It's supported on both ends by equally strong tracks. And you got a strong foundation there, but when you build that album's foundation early on as something super strong, and then you have something with weak supports, like the songs I've been discussing here towards the end later on in the album, you got a building that collapses in on itself, and all you're left is that first genuinely good bit to talk about. Without repeating myself too much, the only thing that's any sort of like last second redeeming itself towards the end of this album is Going Down, which closes out the album in pretty impressive fashion. We got some more energy that's sounding very similar to The Good Life or Break, but it's not enough to keep that second half of the album from basically just being like, meh, okay, I guess. So we're still surpassing the relatively basic debut, but we're not quite reaching the same heights that 1X did just before this album. So for that reason and the reasons I've discussed, Life Starts Now by 3 Days Grace gets a 7.3 out of 10. And there's a review. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Do you agree with these talking points I have? Do you disagree? You think that I'm talking about my ass about one of the best bands in the world? Let me know. Let's get a conversation going. Let's talk more about things. And above all else, have a great day. Stay hydrated. I'll see you next time.